This is Tom Fox, and welcome to the Daily Compliance News. Today, I want to begin by telling you about an exciting new podcast I'm beginning this week. It is AI Today in 5, where I curate 5 stories about AI and how it works in compliance and general business application that you can use in your business or in your compliance world on a daily basis. AI Today in 5 has premiered on the Compliance Podcast Network. I'm running it for the month of August. If I can get 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to continue doing it. So please check it out, subscribe, rate, and review wherever great podcasts are listened to. AI Today in 5. The Daily Compliance News for August 8, 2025, the Trump as CEO edition. We begin with that. All of these stories comes to us from the Wall Street Journal today. And we begin with the story from the politics/policy section that Trump reminds CEOs who the ultimate boss is. President Trump has now began telling corporate bosses how to run their companies and when to resign. We'll get to that story in a minute. What does that do for your risk profile and risk parameter? What happens when Trump says you have to do business with a certain party? What happens when he says you have to do business in a certain high-risk area? You think you're going to get a waiver from the Department of Justice? If you do so, I might think again. But he has taken his penchant for telling corporate bosses how to run their businesses with our next story by publicly calling on Intel's chief executive to resign. This story comes to us from the technology section. And the CEO of Intel, Lip Bhutan, was at odds with the board members before President Trump jumped into the fray. And now he's called for his ouster, claiming he is conflicted by his business ties to China. At this point, Intel is standing firm by Tan, but the board has said they are deeply committed to advancing U.S. national security and economic interests aligned with the president's America First agenda. Doesn't sound to me like they're going to stand by him very long. And that brings us to the next story, which comes from the opinion section. And the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal asks the question, is Intel discovering the wages of an industrial policy? Trump's demand that its CEO Tan resigned could be because of his alleged conflicts in his investments, but it could be because Intel received billions of dollars from the United States government in its CHIPS Act. And Trump is trying to punish all of those who obtained money. So think about what that might mean for your company. If the government has a program to help advance the national security and economic interests of the United States, and the next administration says, oh, we don't like that, just like they said that about Obamacare, what are you going to do? Is the president now a stakeholder in your organization? And even the Wall Street Journal says that the president is going down a very, very dangerous path, because it's saying that any national security conflict that he feels is appropriate is a reason for you to change business or even fire people. Our final story comes to us from the Wall Street opinion section, and it's Peggy Noonan. Now, I don't think I've ever had Peggy Noonan on, but she talks about what AI means for business in terms of terminations of employees and reuse. I would urge you to read it and think about it. She's a conservative commentator, and she brings up some excellent points. On July 4th, we had perhaps the worst tragedy to ever hit my home county in its history over this weekend, and myself and my family are fine, but multiple others who lost loved ones, lost family members, are obviously not fine. So if you can find your way to help with any donation, I would greatly appreciate it. This is Tom Fox. Thank you. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.